So we are the agency team, obviously. I'm Emily. I've been the client services coordinator.
And I'm Ethan. I've been the campaign book manager.
And I'm Liz. I have been the media content manager.
I'm Garrett, and I've been the campaign schedule manager.
I'm Haley, and I was in charge of the research.
I'm Spencer, and I was also in charge of the research. All right, let's begin. So, the previous agency fell short of expectations, so we wanted to be able to remedy that. And for this semester, we met with Swanson, and we wanted to roll out a new public relations platform called Muckrack for future students within the agency, as well as redesigning the social media content. Our team had met with him on the 11th to discuss some of the issues that we had or the issues that he had with previous students and some of the goals that we hope to accomplish by the end of this campaign. After our consultation and with some additional research, we came up with 3 main goals to achieve. Our first goal was to create engaging content highlighting the success while growing our follower count by 10% on 4 different platforms. Our second goal was to collaborate with the agency alumni and other communication organizations at CSUF to develop content. And our third goal was to create a manual for the platform Muckrack so future agency students are able to jumpstart their learning process. The campaign rolled out on February 11th and ended on May 12th. Our first goal was partially not met as some platforms dropped follower count, but our team was still able to maintain our posting schedule throughout the whole campaign with a higher like count on average than before. Our second goal was achieved as we got in contact with past agency students and the CSUF SURF team to help develop more content. Our last goal was a success as we created an instructional slide deck on the uses of Muckrack to help with future agency students. Although the media presence quantitatively fell short, we created engaging content backed by research that we felt was most relevant for the campaign. We are thankful for the opportunity and hope to see Practical Advantage Communications continue to thrive in the future. All right. So next slide. Now we're going to go to the problem opportunity. So the goal was to present what the agency was capable of doing, and the work we produced was important by bolstering the social media presence and by following the mantra of under promise and over deliver. Loyola Marymount University also has a student-run agency that's similar to ours, and their social media is consistent with ours as well. Talk PR is another student-run agency that is based out of Fresno State University. Their homepage layout is very similar to our own and had consistent media postings across their platforms as ours, or like ours. California State University of Northridge also has their own agency team that goes by the name of Agency 398. And then lastly, we looked at Steadfast PR, a professional IMC agency. Their website and social media activity was also in line with ours, showing the consistency of our agency. These all fell in line with one another, proving what we were doing was consistent. And because we're among one of the biggest student agencies, we wanted to be an example for others that are around the world that are smaller. Okay, now we're going to go on to the SWOT analysis. The goal of the SWOT analysis was to create a succinct and strong plan to follow. A SWOT analysis is an in-depth look at the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. With this insight, we were able to show what Prad was as a brand. We use this to see where we need to improve, like social media platforms, and to create better expectations for the future. The SWOT model is a trusted measure of strengths and weaknesses, and we wanted to use that to have a successful campaign. So some of our strengths that we wanted to leverage were our real-world experiences with clients, our strong social media following, and we wanted to connect with Pratt alumni. Some of our weaknesses were low amounts of engagement on the posts and low volumes of posts and no consistency on the posting schedule. Opportunities that we wanted to take were to interact with the agency classes, introduce Muckrack, and a threat was COVID-19 hindering our communications within the agency. And then the organizational structure that we used was team-based, which means that we worked in like small groups to get our work done efficiently as possible without having to worry about a hierarchy of command. The theory of communication that was being utilized was the uncertainty reduction theory. The way we use this was by staying consistent and transparent with our posts, which led to more engagement and trust within the agency. This benefited the students and the agency by further buffing up the presence and reputation of PRAD. What we did was consistent with professional agency environment because communication studies states that people learn about an organization through 3 different methods: passive, active, and interactive strategies. For passive, we observe people to learn about them. Active means we need to set up a situation or observe said person or agency. And lastly, interactive is to talk directly with the person of entity or with the person or entity of interest. This is in line with the agency or with other agencies and PRAD, since driving interaction, familiarity, and good associations with a brand are some of the top priorities of communications professionals in an agency setting. And now I'm going to hand it off to Elizabeth for chapter 2.
Oh, so before we could start brainstorming and creating content for the agency, we had to identify and learn who our audiences and publics were. So after reviewing our followers, we learned that more than 90% of them were either employees, students, or alumni of Cal State Fullerton. So we then decided that our publics were communication students and local businesses of Fullerton. These groups would have an active interest in the agency, whether that be the potential of joining the agency as a student or joining the agency as a client. And it was pretty clear after seeing the alumni, employees, and students being our main audience. They were more than 90%, and they would have more of like a passive interest in the agency. And then through analytics, we also figured out what our demographics were in our followers. And we noticed that 66% were women. And of those women, they were between the ages of 18 through 34. And then the other 34% were men. And they actually were between the ages of 25 through 34. And it was clear through communication students and local businesses that the psychographic characteristics that we noticed in them were their interest in communications and specifically public relations and marketing. And then after we figured all that out, we made a clear message that we wanted to show. And our message that we came up with was, we are a business that works with real world clients by giving students hands-on experience planning, developing, and executing communication campaigns. We allow students the best possible preparation for careers in the communication professions. And with that, I will pass it to Emily to talk about our strategy for the campaign.
Okay, so our main strategy, our main objective, I guess, first going into our campaign was to try to just increase traffic in general to our accounts and create a lively and inspirational presence, just to kind of get people interested in what we're doing and kind of not only wanting to be a part, like not only seeing what we're doing, but wanting to be a part of it as well, either as a client or as a future student. And as Liz had said, most of our followers were either current students or alumni. And so our content and outreach strategies kind of were aimed towards them because those are the people already following us. We wanted to make sure that the content we're posting to them was engaging. And as far as tools and tactics, we wanted to make sure that we were going to be consistent on our social media posts because we knew that was an issue in the past. So we made sure that we had a team-wide content calendar and schedule that was planned out and that we referenced and went back and changed as the semester went through to see and make sure that things were working and editing things out that were not working. We also ran a obviously social media based campaign. We can't really do anything in person, but we maintain posting across all our platforms, and we wanted to make sure we were getting across all those platforms to create a really wide scope of reach. So we used Facebook and Instagram to mainly highlight current PRAD students, so ourselves and students, you guys, and our other fellow class, we reached out through a Google form via email. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we did reach out and highlighted a couple students through our Instagram and Facebook pages. And then on LinkedIn, we did a very similar thing, but we reached out to alumni instead of current students, asking for how Prad had helped them and how they thought it helped them like advance in their career and how they could help us and what advice they had for us in our future careers going into the workforce. That was actually really cool, and we got a lot of really interesting insight from those alumni about what they're doing now and some cool information about what we can do as we go into our careers. And then we also use our Twitter account to showcase some industry insight and just other educational info. We strive to maintain a relatable and realistic tone throughout our posts and try to maintain a similar brand voice across all platforms, just to try to keep everything consistent. And we shared stories of current and past students, like I said, to help highlight the benefits of the agency. And we also wanted to make sure we highlighted the benefits for students, because a lot of students now are using Instagram as part of their college search. And so seeing our presence on Instagram could help some students decide like, oh, I want to come to Fullerton, I want to be a part of that. And like, I think that could be really helpful to my future career. So we thought that could be an interesting insight. And then as far as our goals, our 3 goals were to make sure we were creating engaging content and to try to increase our follower count by 10% on our 4 platforms, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Our second goal was to connect with other communications organizations. So not only our fellow teams, but we also wanted to reach out to alumni and other organizations across campus. And lastly, we wanted to create that student guide for MUCRAC to make sure that not only we could understand MUCRAC, but that future students can understand and use MUCRAC in their campaigns. Oops, sorry, and I'm gonna pass it off now to Garrett.
So our agency stuck with its originally proposed schedule. Our original proposal was to post to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And in each of those platforms would receive at least 1 post per week. And then we would also meet every Wednesday evening to plan out our upcoming social media posts. And then in our folder in Google Docs, we have included a document that shows each and every one of the posts that we posted throughout the semester. Next slide, please. And then we also developed a Gantt chart just for a more friendly view of all the tasks that we completed throughout the semester. We split up these tasks into 5 main categories, and the first being assigning the roles, and then our client consultation. And then next we have our campaign proposal. And then we have all of our social media posts that we posted throughout the semester. And then next was our MUCRAC presentation. And then finally our our final campaign book and presentation. Research has shown that Gantt charts are useful for planning and scheduling projects. And then the benefits of a Gantt chart include that they're easy to understand, they give a clear time frame of dates, and they help the team collaborate on the tasks at hand. So now I'll pass it over to Haley.
Okay, so for our outcome for goal 1, we remained consistent on all 4 of our platforms, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. This really allowed us to increase Prad's brand awareness and open up new opportunities for increased engagement from our audience. Our outcome for goal number 2, getting in contact with other agency classes and other Cal State Fullerton communication channels demonstrated our eagerness to share the great successes of students and increase our community presence. So we partnered up with SURF and created a social media posting on our Instagram to promote their organization and give our audience a little bit more information about their services and kind of what they do. We also were successful in connecting with an alumni, Justin, and shared his success story from graduating from the Pratt agency and then moving on into his career life. We made a posting on Facebook for his success story. Our outcome for goal 3, so we really explored MacRack and kind of figured out how to use it and kind of what content it gave us to find useful. MacRack will enable future agency teams to work together to find the right journalists for their stories, send customized pitches, build meaningful relationships with the media, and monitor news and quantify their impact. So we created a separate presentation that we did the other week, and we saved all the useful information to pass on to future agency team members. So we're really confident that that will benefit next semester's agency team, and we hope that they will find it just as useful as we did. So we did consider some potential negative outcomes for our campaign, these being maybe an inability to meet our predicted goals or lack of communication amongst our agency team, but we prevented these outcomes by maintaining weekly meetings every Wednesday evening and text updates in a group chat, as well as logging down all of our communication efforts for future reference and credibility. We're confident that the agency team had a unique and engaging presence through experience-driven stories and direct benefits that have come from prior students and alumni. So now I will pass it on to Ethan.
So for our measurement of success for goal number 1, one of our biggest things is that we really want to keep a consistent post. So that really followed our calendar. Our initial goal really was to increase our follower count. We thought that was kind of what quantified a successful campaign in the beginning, but after not doing that, unfortunately, we noticed one thing that was beneficial was that we averaged 25 likes compared to 17 from previous semesters. So that engagement was definitely higher than previous, and we think it was because of our content. Another resource that we used for our research to kind of support our posts was user-submitted photos. So in the very beginning of the campaign, we got everybody from our agency team as well as other teams that are within the agency, and then with Swanson's class as well, or not Swanson, Spalding's class as well, to all submit their own photos of them that they would like to be posted with like a little tip about who they were. And we also followed our schedule of posting between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. because we found that those were the most beneficial times to put out content. And our goal number 2, we really just wanted to connect with other CSUF departments. Like in the very beginning, we got a DM from Titan Radio and Titan TV to collab and do some additional posting, as well as our surf team within Prad. They gave us a little list of posts to help support their campaign with CSSA. And then we also connected with Prad alumni to kind of help us show the after effects of Prad and like what that can do. Some of that wasn't as easy as we had hoped to get in contact with. For instance, at my internship, my project manager was a Pratt alumni from last year. And I remember asking at least 3 to 4 times, like every couple of weeks, like, hey man, can you just send a picture over and a quote? And I always got sure thing. And sure enough, it never came through. So we got what we could, I thought. And some of the alumni that were able to share with us was really helpful in our content. And then our third goal was to introduce a new platform that kind of catered to the public relations and journalism field. And we created the MuckRack slideshow that we presented last week to jumpstart everybody's or the future Pratt students process and getting comfortable with that and using it for credible source to back up other related media campaigns. And next slide. So our kind of overall evaluation of it was we were bummed that we got less followers, but we were also appreciative that we got more likes. We built relationships with other teams within Prad and other CSUF communication organizations, which will hopefully contribute to campaigns in the future that these other CSUF comm programs will be more willing to work with us, which will allow for more content in the future. And I think with all of those things together with MuckRack and more engaging community or a social media profile, and more CSUF organizations that want to partake, it gives Future Proud a much better starting point to introduce more new interesting content. And that concludes our presentation.